If you were looking at this character right now and thinking, hey, this is just desaturated Ironclad wearing a pirate hat, you couldn't be more incorrect. This is actually the Blackbeard, a character created by Johnny Bazooka89, and one of the oldest characters on Slay the Spire's Steam Workshop. It took me 18 runs to reach my goal of at least 10 hours of playtime, and of those 18 runs, I won 10 of them. I even went infinite on accident. This character is ridiculously overpowered, and I can't wait to get into why, so no more stalling, it's review time. Okay, maybe a little bit more stalling, because I must point out that Blackbeard does indeed use AI art for the card artwork. Wait, stop! I can see your comment already, just hold on. Blackbeard is a bit unique, because you can use the standard AI art, or you can switch on the beta art for every card, which features less morally ambiguous artwork, such as stock images or actual human drawings. Props to Johnny for taking the time to implement an alternative for those who feel strongly about AI. Weapons are Blackbeard's main gimmick. You can have up to 10 weapons equipped, just like orbs, but only the rightmost weapon will be considered active. Each weapon has 2 numbers associated with them. The number on the left represents how much extra damage your attacks will deal while using this weapon, and the number on the right represents the weapon's durability, or how many attack plays it will take until the weapon breaks. Once a weapon breaks, the next weapon in queue will take its place if one is available. A simple way to think about weapons is, you have X additional strength for the next Y attacks you play. You immediately have access to a weapon in the form of Cutlass, a basic card which equips a 4/2 weapon. Some cards allow you to equip weapons with unique effects, including Smithing Hammer, which says, equip a 4/3 weapon. After you attack with this weapon, and at the start of your turn using 1 durability. Johnny, I'm not reading all that. Congratulations, or sorry that happened to you, or whatever. Weapons are crazy strong. For example, there is a common attack called Rearming Strike, which deals 8 damage immediately and equips a 4/2 weapon. It really puts things into perspective when you realize that this card has the same damage potential as Glass Knife, if not greater. Of course, it's not that simple, because the weapon that Rearming Strike equips doesn't have an immediate effect and, in fact, may never be used at all. But even if you do lean too heavily into weapons, it's fine, because you can easily deplete their durability using cannonballs. There are a few types of cannonballs available to Blackbeard, but the most common cannonball is a 0-cost attack which deals 6 damage and can often be generated in multiples, which is perfect for taking full advantage of your weapons. I think the natural synergy between weapons and cannonballs is pretty fun, and as a certified silent enjoyer, the concept of spammable 0-cost attack cards is highly familiar, so I appreciate cannonballs even more for that. There are many ways to generate cannonballs, including Blackbeard's starter relic, Load the Cannons. Load the Cannons adds a cannonball to your hand at the start of combat, and then every 4 turns after that. I do not like the design of this relic. Cannonballs are at their best when you have weapons equipped, as you can quickly make use of all the extra damage potential. A cannonball on turn 1 is fine. I mean, it's 6 extra damage to an enemy of your choosing, but you often don't have weapons equipped at the start of battle. The secondary effect only starts to become relevant on turn 5 of combat, and as Blackbeard's offensive potential is wildly strong, it's pretty common that fights are over before turn 5 even begins. So Load the Cannons is essentially an immediate effect with variable effectiveness, and a very delayed effect which you often won't see. To me, it feels inconsistent and not integral to the character as a whole. Here are some very quick rework ideas that I think would improve the relic, but ultimately it just sort of feels like Blackbeard's starter relic and unique basic card should be swapped. That way you have a consistent starter relic that introduces you to Blackbeard's main mechanic, and a starter card which allows you to take advantage of said mechanic. I don't play the Watcher at all, so I don't have much experience with the card Wish, but from what I see online, it seems that most people agree that the most powerful effect is the one that grants you gold, as it's the only one that has a permanent benefit. Blackbeard has several cards that grant gold during combat, which, in a vacuum, are incredibly powerful, but there's a catch. Just kidding, there's no catch. They're just ridiculously strong cards. Welcome to Slay the Spire modding. The cards that give you gold would be strong on their own, but they do have a purpose, which is to power up Blackbeard's other set of gold-centric cards, which scale with the amount of gold gained during your run. These cards are virtually unpickable at the start of your run, but become absurd by the end of it. In Act 3, why would you say no to a 1-cost common skill that gives you 30 block? Gonna be honest here, I think the design of these cards are fundamentally flawed. It eliminates part of the decision making that goes into picking a card reward. Like, yeah, what am I gonna pick? The 2-cost skill that gives me 26 block, or the 1-cost skill, common by the way, that gives me 29 block and will only get better over time? Yeah, real tough choice there. I think the decision making is supposed to be outsourced to events that give you gold for a downside, such as the Golden Shrine event or the Serpent event. Oh wait, Blackbeard changes that to be objectively good. Okay, well, forget that one. But those choices are still pretty easy, I think. If you can handle the downside at all, you should just take the gold and suck it up, because those cards become much better as a result. I think the best gold scaling card is Golden Defense, but you often won't need that card anyway, because Blackbeard's other defensive options are ludicrous. Blackbeard introduces a new keyword, Resistance, which is essentially a piercing wail effect, but applied as a buff to you. You can receive resistance from multiple sources, but probably the best one is Toast, which is a 0-cost common skill that is supposed to provide temporary resistance, but you can combine that with Blackbeard's other set of broken cards and relics that prevent or remove debuffs entirely to make it permanent resistance. Those debuff removing cards and relics are a whole nother discussion entirely, but for the sake of keeping things brief, I'm just going to let this card speak for itself. Resistance is a solution for multi-hit attacks, but for the big hits, those are solved by the card that gives you Intangible. Sorry, I meant the 2 cards that give you Intangible. Sorry, I meant the 3 cards that give you Intangible. All these Intangible cards come with downsides in the form of debuffs, but, you know. There are some other Blackbeard cards that are unbalanced, to say the least, but I'm going to highlight a couple, including a better version of Alchemize as an uncommon card. There's also a rare attack called Murder with the worst upgrade I have ever seen. I never would have thought that an upgrade that adds 500 damage would be so bad, but it's only ever relevant against Giant Head. Only if it has additional max HP or if you're weakened, but even then I promise you that the unupgraded version of Murder will still be sufficient for murdering. And also Weapon Mastery Plus, which is the easiest infinite generator since Rushdown. One thing I like about Blackbeard is the details. The default card background, for instance, has a ton of personality. All of the cards resemble a treasure map, with unique decorations for attacks, powers, and skills. There is a card called Parrot that, when played, actually gives you a parrot on your shoulder. Though I wish it was taken a step further, and the parrot would caw with you when you drink a cultist potion. That would make this mod a masterpiece. It's a bit difficult to give suggestions for how to improve Blackbeard, as I think their unique mechanics wouldn't improve much from simple changes. And while Blackbeard is overpowered, I think becoming so strong that you break the game is a lot of the fun you can have with them. So here are some more simple suggestions. 1. Swap the starter relic with the starter card and balance accordingly. 2. Rework or simplify Smithing Hammer. And finally, 3. The most important one. Make the parrot caca. Overall, I would give Blackbeard a 5.5 out of 10. I would say the overarching flaw with Blackbeard is that it lacks depth. The overpowered mechanics are a bit rudimentary, and once you've played a few runs, it feels like the mod has shown you everything it has to offer. And that's not to say Johnny did a bad job making Blackbeard. Keep in mind that Blackbeard was not only Johnny's first character, but one of the first characters, period. If you want more depth for Blackbeard in the form of more content, you would be glad to know that I make an expansion pack for each character that I review. For Blackbeard, I've made Blackbeard's Treasure Trove. The Treasure Trove includes 5 cards with very little regard for balance, all with art generated by Midjourney, just like the original mod, and with beta art, 5 relics, and 1 new potion. If that interests you, you may download Blackbeard's Treasure Trove using the Steam Workshop link in the description, along with the original Blackbeard mod.